Hey there, my fellow lunatics, and welcome to Dakon's Madhouse. Hey there, lunatics. Can you tell that my lab has gotten a little more lively since last we met? Can you spot the difference? I bet you can. Let's go ahead and take a look at the patch notes because we have got a brand new update coming for Corekeeper on May 14th. That's just 2 days away. And I think you guys are really going to like what's in this update. It's not a big one. There's not a lot here, but what is here is really cool. Come on, let's take a look. All right, we're going to start with the juicy stuff. So first things first, we have got a brand new pet. It's called the Eerie, maybe Airy. I'm pronouncing it Eerie because that looks like the word ear. And this is a summoning pet. This creepy little guy, which is also, I guess, kind of cute, can be found in locked iron chests, as well as destructibles in the clay caverns, Azios' wilderness, and I think the stone biome as well. I haven't found all the locations where you can find this guy yet, but he definitely spawns in locked iron chests. I think that's the easiest way to find this guy. Now, this pet adds a max minion count of +1, as well as a 7.2% boost to your minion damage. Ignore that 20% damage boost there. That's something that my skills are granting the pet. That has nothing to do with the pet itself. Let's look at the pet's skills too. What do we got? We got Breaking Skin, which buffs the owner with 30% minion critical hit damage. This is a buff the owner pet. So just like the Owl Lux or the Arcane Symbiote. We've also got Longevity, which buffs the owner with plus 15% minion lifespan. So for those of you who are irritated by how little your minion is lasting, well, you can increase your minion's lifespan with this pet now. Battleborn increases minion damage by 8%. Drone Dominance, 15% minion damage boost against bosses. And we've also got Provoked Swarm, a 12% minion attack speed boost. There's Laser Pointer Play, which gives a 3% minion critical hit chance boost. And I believe that's all of them. There may be another buff or two that I'm not familiar with that I just didn't get, but I've spawned in quite a few in creative mode, and these were all of the buffs that I was able to find. Also, these are all of the colors that I noticed that the minion comes in. It's again possible that there's something that's really rare, but I believe these are all of them. And next, we have got new decorative items for pets craftable in the loom. We've got the pet bed, which is craftable for 4 wool. We have got the perch pole, craftable for 8 wood and 1 wool. The nap tree nook for 4 wood and 4 wool. And the wolf cavern for 8 wood and 2 wool. You will notice that the pet bed and the nap tree nook are both paintable, but the wolf cabin and the perch pole are not. So once these decorative items are placed on the ground, you just hit E to open it up, and it acts exactly like a pedestal would. You put your pet into the slot, and now the pet will roam around near their anchor point, which is the pet item. Whether it's the perch pole, the bed, the little nook. You can now display your pets. Finally, they're not just sitting in a chest collecting dust anymore. So nice. Additionally, we have got 2 brand new items as well. We have got the Noxious Meteor Staff, which has a very slow attack speed of 0.5 attacks per second, but a lot of high magic damage. It also has a chance to apply poison. So this is our first magic weapon that can apply poison on hit. I have found this weapon in Azios' wilderness off of various destructibles, chests, etc. But I haven't entirely narrowed down exactly how you find this thing yet. Just search around in Azios' wilderness and you are guaranteed to find it. Additionally, we have got the Scratched Stone. This is an offhand item that again is summoner based. It increases our minion damage and increases our max minion count by 1. I believe this item is found pretty early. I think it's in the Forgotten Ruins, but I cannot remember. I found it a couple of times during my initial testing, and I know I wrote it down, but I cannot find my notes, and it's really annoying, but I'm pretty sure the scratch stone is found in the Forgotten Ruins. Next, we have got cattle color variations. Cattle now come with coats in different colors. Cattle babies will typically inherit the coat of one of their parents, but there is a chance that they will mutate and have a random coat color. All right, guys, I know it's really crowded here because it's taken me a while to get all of the variants, and I don't think I have them all yet, but you can see that over on the Dromble side, we've got some white ones, there's some black ones, there's different colored humps now, we've got green humps, we've got blue, there's brown humps, there's lots and lots of different kinds. Over here with the Moulin, we've got green, we've got a couple different shades of gray. I haven't noticed a lot of variants in my Bambucks, but at the very least, here's a white one. Yeah, there's lots and lots of choices now when it comes to your pet colors. Over here with the Kelpal, we've got a variety of different colors as well. There's this little guy with the orange. There's these weird purple and blue ones. I don't think I have all the Kelpal variations yet, and I'm pretty sure I don't have all of the Stroly-Poly or the Dodo variations yet. I believe there's about 5 or 6 of each one. So there are lots and lots of little options. It's hard to see, but you can notice if you look where my cursor is, I am pointing at a golden dodo that's like a little chocobo dodo. And I was like, that guy's really cool. And we got the purple and the blue Stroly-Polies. So there are a lot of cool new colors and variations for all of your cattle here. Additionally, you also can turn on and off breeding for them by clicking this disable or enable breeding button. So that can help you prevent the craziness that we've got here, or if you're just trying to breed certain traits, trying to get certain mutations or certain variants in color, then you can disable the breeding on the ones that don't meet your needs. Next, the primary use for tomes that summon ranged and melee minions now commands the spawned minions to go to a certain location or focus on a specific target. This is a huge, huge quality of life upgrade, as now I can basically tell my minions, go attack that guy by left clicking with my mouse, or by using whatever the primary action attack button is on a controller. I'm sorry, I don't really play with controllers, so I don't have all the button mapping memorized for the controllers. And it is now possible to use many different tools while using boats or mine carts. Let's see exactly what we can use now. Now, you've always been able to use a pickaxe. That's true. And I'm pretty sure you've always been able to use a sledgehammer, although I don't recommend it since it damages your walls. But now you can also use a shovel. You can use the hoe, although it does mess up your tracks if you do that. And you can now fish when you're on your minecart. All of this works for your boat as well. You can use your sledgehammer, your shovel, your hoe, your pickaxe, your fishing rod. Any of these things can now be used in the minecart or in the boat. And then the last major gameplay note here is that they have readjusted the speed and lifespan of the projectiles fired by the corekeeper's orbs to match intended behavior. Those things were a little bit fast and were lasting a little long, and they were causing some chaos. So it's been brought down a little bit and made a little bit easier, especially for newer players in standard or in casual play. So the first two are related here. When hovering over an item, the game now highlights equipment slots that match that type of item. And when hovering over an equipment slot, the game now highlights matching items that can go into that slot. So you can see when I mouse over this Cosmos visor helm, if you look at my head slot on my paper doll, the corners are now flickering. And if I mouse over my Corrupt Warden mask here on the paper doll, if you look down in my inventory, you can see that the Core Commander helm and the Cosmos visor, their corners are now flickering. So I guess if you're ever confused as to where an item can go on your character, this will help you. In the map UI, the cursor now snaps to nearby markers when using a gamepad, making interaction with them much easier. This will be really useful for all of you console players trying to do things with your map. They've added a gameplay setting to disable the RGB effects of the Corsair ICUE devices. I'm not familiar with those, but I'm sure some people are. This setting is only available if you have a peripheral that supports these features. The game now automatically restarts without mods if the game fails to load while at least one mod is enabled. That's nice. Scanners for the Hydra bosses are now moved from the ancient hologram pod to the Hydra altar. So you'll notice that you will now find your various wind organs and scanners all at the same spot, making it a little bit easier to locate them and making it so that you're not relying nearly as much on the hologram pad, as this guy seems to do a lot of heavy lifting. Plus the Hydra bench needed a little filling out. It looked a little empty. The poison berry wall and the molten wall are now craftable here in the laboratory, which is kind of cool, but they will still explode. So be careful when you're placing them. Don't use them as decoration unless you trust yourself not to accidentally blow things up. Pets now occasionally move around, even if the player is stationary. It's cute. That's nice. The lantern category has been added to the creative mode UI, which means lanterns are now separate from the offhand category. If you've never played in creative mode, this won't matter to you, but this does make things a little bit easier for creative mode users. However, there's still not a search feature, devs. Seriously, search feature. Please. Loot chests that appear after defeating the core commander and Nimruza now appear closer to their final explosions for better timing. And we've all noticed this. If we're defeated the core commander or Nimruza, sometimes those chests blow up early because of the various effects, and you don't get to see the cool chest. So fixing the timing is nice just from an immersion standpoint. And then they have fixed a few text and translation issues, which is nice for those of you who have been suffering on other languages and found weird things. But I've noticed that the Hydra Tooth still says that it has a healing effect in its flavor text, so they still haven't fixed this. I know it's just flavor text, but come on, guys. Just, how hard is it to just update the text for this? This should not be hard to fix. But I think this right here is the most important fix that isn't mentioned in the patch notes. And that is that the waypoint at the core is no longer off-center. This little fix right here is going to make so many people happy. I know it's just visual and it doesn't really matter, but oh my god, it was so annoying. I am so glad you guys fixed this. All right, now that all of the little unimportant updates have been gotten out of the way, let's get to the real meaty stuff and the stuff that I think is going to make people really, really happy. And if you're sitting there saying like, wait, didn't we just talk about the really good stuff? No, we did not. First, let's take a look at the wind organs. You will notice the wind organ of wilderness no longer requires a jungle emerald to craft. And the wind organ of ice no longer requires an ocean sapphire. And the wind organ of fire no longer requires a desert ruby. You don't need those anymore to summon the Hydra bosses. So you are no longer gate-kept if you are struggling to get your gems. This is a huge, huge quality of life update for the game, and I am really, really happy that they did this. Hydra boss gems now scale with the number of players in the world when they drop based on the party size. So now, for those of you playing multiplayer, you're going to get more of these desert emeralds and all of these various gem drops from your Hydra bosses. So the Hydra bosses are going to be much, much more useful for farming now so that you can get your gems and get your gear upgrades. You aren't just stuck with farming the corekeeper or having a slow Mimite farm. Speaking of Mimite farms, they have actually increased the gem drops from Mimites and from the Sun Crystal Destructibles. So if you're roaming around in the Shimmering Frontier, you are going to get more gems. And if you have a Mimite farm, you are now going to get more gems from that farm. Additionally, and this one is really big, guys, all worlds that are created in 1.1.2 or later are now guaranteed to get at least 3 ancient battle arenas. This is huge. It used to be possible for you to get 0 battle arenas, and that would essentially lock you out of endgame content because you couldn't get the gems that you needed to defeat the Hydras, and you couldn't find the new merchant NPC that is super helpful and required to fight the Atlantean worm. It was just frustrating. It was an exercise in futility and frustration to constantly be searching for battle arenas that weren't there. Now, you are guaranteed to get 3 at least in every world, and that is huge. This is actually a recommendation that came from me. The inventory size bonus from backpacks now scales with item level. And note that this does not affect pouches. So that means that every single one of your bags now can have their inventory slot go up from their original 4, 5, 12 or whatever to 20 slots. Every bag can have 20 slots now. Unfortunately, they didn't also rework some of these early game ones like the small backpack, the explorer's backpack, or the miner backpack. It would have been nice to see some of these, maybe even the Scarlet Shell or Gorms, just get a little bit of rework so that one of them had like mining and stuff in it, or one of them had ranged, or one helped summoning. Maybe we'll see a rework like that in the future, but as of right now, the only change is every single one of these bags can now go up to 20 slots. Rebalanced the boss health regeneration to be more consistent. All bosses will now regenerate back to full health over time when not in combat. No bosses will instantly heal back to full health if the player strays from the combat arena. Now, I think this one's interesting and will require some testing to see exactly what it's doing. I think this will be helpful for most players who get killed and try to come back to the fight and find that the boss is already fully healed and they're just struggling. This will make it a little bit easier for you to die and come back to the fight and get back into things, but this also might negatively impact some of the off-screen skill farming, like how you can shoot your ranged or mage attacks at Igneous while he's off-screen and just train your combat skill up to 100. I don't know how that's going to affect this yet, but that's something that's going to warrant some testing to see. And bosses that require a summoning item will now wait for their health to fully regenerate before they despawn if the player leaves the combat area. This is nice because if you get killed in combat and you don't have a bed nearby, then you can't easily get back into the fight before the boss despawns. Now it very well might be possible for you to, end up on the other side of the world when you respawn, hit a portal, teleport back as close as you can and run up and find that the boss is still there. This should give you a little bit more leeway, making it easier if you get killed to get back into the fight without needing a new summoning item. And finally, let's take a look at the bug fixes. We have got a major rework to the code of the in-game map. This fixes a range of long-standing issues, including misaligned pixels, like we saw for the waypoint, inconsistent behavior for some markers, and the map sometimes jittering back and forth when the player moves through the world. Very nice. Minions should no longer explode when the player changes loadouts while having the Desert Guardian set equipped. Thank you guys, that's nice, we don't want to blow up. Having disconnections while the player inventory changes should no longer cause items to be lost if reconnecting to the same server. I haven't encountered that, but dear God. The hovering text over signs is now hidden when the in-game UI is disabled. Okay. Navigating to the Add All button in the content menu using a gamepad may no longer result in the game freezing. Again, useful for those of you using controllers. Heal over time effects from sleeping should no longer be carried over to other worlds. Using garden trowels without seeds should no longer cause durability loss. God, those trowels are just constant problems. The default cursor should now always be displayed when having the inventory or map open. And fixed an issue where you couldn't navigate to the inventory hotbar using the gamepad directional buttons. This is the big one that's been causing consternation for so many controller players. and has even made the game unplayable for some people. So I'm really, really glad that this fix is finally in the game. We definitely needed it. Now, finally, let's take a quick look at a list of known bugs that are in the game as of this update, but will be fixed in the future. So if you encounter these, be aware the devs already know about them and they're working on them. Opening a chest on water from a boat while the boat is moving triggers the "I can't leave while moving" emote. New inventory highlight feature sometimes doesn't work as intended if the player is using a controller. Slime pets can cause shroom and brutes to immediately rearmor, so more excuses never to use the slime pets. Game loses focus when switching between controller and mouse and keyboard. So losing focus means the game you go out of the game window and the game is no longer the primary focused window. Ground placed over white floaty mold in the mold water becomes unbreakable. Interesting, so be careful. Make sure you get rid of all those weird little white mold things before you break your ground and mess with stuff there. If the host closes the game while the client has the map open, a small mini-map window will appear in the main menu. Minor visual bug, but definitely one they're going to want to correct. And Nimruza and the core commander will disappear if a player moves away during death animation. So don't leave the screen like I tend to do when you kill these bosses. Just wait for them to die. And the Erie's eyes flash a darker pink when flying. I actually think that's kind of cool, personally, but I guess that's a bug. And feeding trays can clip into walls right now. So these are all little bugs at the moment that you'll want to keep an eye out for, or just, tolerate until they fix them. And that's pretty much it for this update. There's a lot of cool quality of life stuff, and I think some really, really big changes that are going to make a huge difference for a lot of people. What do you think about these changes? Do you think this update is awesome? Do you think it missed the mark on some things? What would you like to see coming up in the next update? Leave a comment below, and remember, this update is coming out on May 14th, so that's only a couple of days away. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay crazy, everybody.